Pablo.
Good morning, Mr. Paul Reed Smith.
How you doing, Paul?
Is it story time?
Make me get dressed up in my own house.
Hey, man, can you hear me?
How you doing, Paul?
Hey, what's happening, man?
Hey, what's up?
How are you, man? Are you okay?
And that is a ridiculous piece of wood.
Hi, Kat.
How you doing, darling?
How are you?
I am absolutely excellent. I wish I was in that studio back there looking looked like you got everything.
I built this for musicians like you. Why don't you come use it? It's free.
I know, and you have invited me. And once I make it back to the East Coast, once I see my family.
Oh, I see. I have to show you the gear before you come. I get it now. Okay. So you're not here in Maryland. Where are you?
I'm in LA.
You are in LA.
Yeah, my family's all in Virginia. So once I make it home,
Yeah.
I'm jumping in a little something, and I think I might have to roll up the.
Right. Well, you can be I'll take you to Cantler's and serve you Maryland seafood. Does that sound good?
Oh, that sounds like home.
You like crab?
I'm from the Chesapeake Bay area. What do you
I
think?
know, that's my point. So I got all kinds of questions for you. You have questions for me?
I have a few, but what I'm seeing, everybody's asked you like everything. So
nah, they can't touch that. They can't touch. No, you have a wicked sense of yourself, the people around you, and a sense of humor. They haven't touched what you can do. When I watch Rhonda play, she's got extraordinary meter, but she's not tapping her foot. And I said, Rhonda, how do you feel it? She says, it feels like a piston going up and down inside me. I said, where'd that come from? She says, I got trained by Prince. So you have your experiences with that musician. What can you tell everybody about what you remember, what you loved about it, what you didn't like about it, everything about that?
Well, how Rhonda and I came into that situation was such a kind of backdoor surprise, because we met Sheila at trade shows. We met her at NAMM, and then we met her again over at the Mesa. And she saw Rhonda and I, and we were demonstrating for Godin at the time.
Right.
And she said, hey, I'm doing this all super female band, and I'm already talking to Wendy and Lisa and Michelle and Degacello. And I like what I see you guys do. I mean, we were playing live to a DAT tape with drums. It was just me and Rhonda and a DAT tape with drums. It was really, it was 90s, it was the 90s. So she says, look, we're going to be writing all styles of music. Send me all the styles you play in, everything. So we sent this big package, of us playing rock and jazz and funk and blah, 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 VH tapes from TV shows and all kinds of crazy stuff that we would not, that as a guitarist going to audition for someone that's an established artist for a tour, I would not have done. I would not have sent that package at all. But she said, hey, we're going to be starting from scratch and blah, blah, blah. We're like, okay, yay. And then 2 months after that, she calls and says, hey, Prince just got rid of his band and he wants to play with women. And I sent your package to him. So because that whole thing came from such a different place, we thought we were going to be doing a studio project with Sheila E., and then it turned out to be that, So from playing in cover bands and doing all kinds of stuff since I was like in junior high school, I had a sense of the music and a sense of, my own little ways in and ways out in college and stuff. But what he showed me as a guitar player was his modus operandi, which was a bit different from mine, but he liked and respected what I did and would ask me, what made you, we would have those kind of conversations about voicings and approach to rhythm. And, in my audition, he was on drums. Rhonda was on bass. And that was my audition. I think we played for a couple of hours, and he went through every style that we sent in that package, and he stayed on drums.
How'd he do on drums?
He was great, but I think what really I think made him happy is, as a kid in Virginia, I grew up in a little town called Chesapeake, Virginia. And all we had was the radio, and whoever had the money to buy the 45 that was out, we were kids, we had money, and we had these bands with no keyboard player. So, me being the second guitar player, because the guys always wanted to play the solos, I would end up playing the rhythm part and the piano part or the keyboard part. So we were doing all of this, all of this James Brown. I didn't know James had 2 guitar players. So a lot of times I would learn the whole thing. I would play the 2 parts together. I didn't know it was 2 guys. For the tower power stuff, we didn't have an organ player. So I learned all that rest stroke stuff to make it sound like that while the other guitar player did, So my approach was very percussive. So I already, all my rhythm and stuff was in my hands. Where he was very economical and clean. And he told me that I had the gut bucket funk, because I do a lot of rest strokes and a lot of pulled notes, and more like Freddie from Sly, more raw, more open string, more, not so neat and tidy. You know what I mean? So
kind of like the zigaboo of guitar.
Well,
like behind the meters with all those extra grace notes on a snare drum.
Yeah, and a lot of what I practiced as a kid, I had a book of drum rudiments, and a great guitar player who influenced the Wootens, who lived in our town, also had that technique. His name was Jimmy Lawson, and if you talk to Victor Wooten about Jimmy Lawson,
he'll go off. Yeah.
And it was, so he would ask me, well, how do you approach it? And why your hand is always moving? He says, but it doesn't get in the way. I said, well, I'm looking at the hi-hat. He would ask me how I viewed it. Whereas he looked at all of its front was like a puzzle, and it just fit. I mean, at one point we would play Talking Loud and Saying Nothing as maybe the first song of the set, because he just wanted everybody to get a sound check. And one night he just made the drummer and me just play the part. He just stay right there. He did 10 minutes. Just me. And the crowd is like, what are you doing? And he was just standing there just looking at me like. So
he was just grooving.
I think the biggest compliment he paid me was my first gig, because Rhonda went in before I did, and I still had obligations in Canada, so I came later, and I had to go back and do something for Canada Day. And my first gig with him was on David Letterman, and we did a song called Dinner with Dolores, and he chose to just play piano. He's like, you play that, and you play my solo. And it was a solo that he played with Eric Leeds. It was a guitar, saxophone kind of thing. And he trusted me to do that. So, because he knew that I was a big listener. Mm-hmm. And I think what he appreciated about me, I'm thinking most, is that I paid attention to what I was given, rather than a lot of cats try to put their stamp on stuff or try to change it. And I'm like, well, if I'm here and the public already said that this is special, why
change it?
Yeah.
I think his assessment of your funk is a good assessment. I like your funk. I actually think that he's right. And what he would be very interested in how his thing was like a puzzle. I mean, and you're playing much more of a integrated thing.
Well, it depends on what I'm asked for, though, because when given that, when he did choose to play guitar, he's like, okay, you do that, I'll do this. And I'm like, cool. But when we would just jam, I would automatically move to somewhere on the neck because of what I know about harmony and sound. He's like, why'd you go there? I'm like, well, you were there, and that space was being taken up. So why you know, and we would have those conversations.
So we've been asking all the musicians today a question. What's the most interesting thing that's in the room with you right now?
My gold PRS that I'm looking at right now.
Oh, you sweetheart.
No, it is. It is. I've been, me and Goldie, we've been having a time. We've been having a time.
You named the guitar Gold.
And she's a little different from the red one, in little ways. There's little things.
Are the red one's feelings hurt?
I'm not a technical person. I don't know all the intricacies of your genius. All I know is
you sweetheart.
It's a personality thing, mainly. And each guitar you make requires its own time, and it's got its own place. But my first part, PRS, really just changed my whole mind about, and I've had many guitars. I've had Fenders, I've had Gibsons, I've had Gretschens, I've had, and it just, it just made me jump more into maximizing the tone out of that because it was so much in it. It was like a gift basket.
I understand.
For me, I mean, I can't speak for anybody else, but certain guitars, what they're going to do, and that's what they're going to do. But I like that I can still discover things.
The water that you're describing about how you learn to play is very deep water, because having to play both guitar parts and the organ part all mixed together, and you not knowing that's what it was, it's a beautiful place to start. So you've got students, or I'm assuming you have students, and you're teaching. What would you tell young guitar players what it is that they should change about their approach in order to be more gig ready? Because most guitar players aren't gig ready.
Yeah, you're right about that. What I tell them to do is kind of like what I did when I was a kid, on top of what they already know technically. And some of them come to me knowing technical things. But I'm like, take, Translate or The Amazing Slower Downer, take your favorite song and play with the band. Tape yourself playing along with the band. Can you play with the band and not make any mistakes? Because that's what I used to do. I sit in front of the radio and wait till my favorite song came on and play with it. And if I made a mistake, I turned it off and I, got mad at myself in that practice. But, listening to the radio, learning stuff by ear, I imagined myself, as a 10, 11-year-old playing with the band. So, what I tell them is, and if it is difficult, then take the apps you have and slow it down, but play with the band. Practicing licks and scales with a metronome is fine. I am of the mind of, getting a drum machine. I don't like metronomes. They serve their purpose, but even if I'm doing scales, I'm gonna make it musical. I'm gonna make it be like, okay, I'm playing with Buddy Miles and I got to play the scale, so it's gonna be good. I change my tone for those scales. I make those scales musical. I said, look, if you're gonna do this passage, if you're gonna do the scale, if you're gonna do this solo line, I challenge them to take it and put it in 3/4. I challenge them to do different rhythmic things with it that they might not do. I mean, everybody, when Chick Corea passed, everybody, was feeling that, and I remember, all the years of, everybody and their mom who's studying anything about jazz, you learn how to play Spain, and I just slowed it down and just imagine if Chick and Bob Marley were doing it, and I
think Chick would have enjoyed Bob Marley doing it.
And I did a reggae thing on it, and I slowed his solo down and learned Chick's solo on the original one with that in mind, and it made me think about it differently. I listen to horn players and piano players when it comes to jazz. I mean, I love jazz guitarists, and I got a chance to meet Joe Pass, who gave me an amazing lesson. I got a chance to meet Di Meola because I snuck into Return to Forever concert in Norfolk, Virginia when I was in school and had no money and they caught me. So I've had free lessons from amazing people. And, you know, the main thing about taking something that seems tedious is to make it fun. So I'll ask them, okay, you know, why don't you take the drum beat from Hot for Teacher and practice the scale like you're playing Hot for Teacher? You know what I mean? Take a drum machine and let's because most of the kids I know, they know how to write stuff. They know how to write stuff on rhythmic patterns. They know how to do that. So I'm like, take the most tedious thing and make it fun. And you will find that you will write songs from that practice time if you don't treat it like it's tedious.
I like the rhythm guitar part in Hot for Teacher.
Man, I'm gonna tell you that and the verse rhythm part of Walk This Way.
Oh, I had Brad Woodford sat me down and showed me how Joe Perry played it. I actually got a lesson from him. It's not the way you think. It ain't what people think it is.
Exactly. And I know I probably still don't have it right, but every now and then I just dig right into it. And I'm like, that is the most drivingest thing ever.
So Brad Whitford says, how do you play Walk This Way? I showed him. He says, that's close, but no. And then he showed me how to play it right.
All right. Now, when I get to the studio, then you're going to show me.
I don't remember exactly how it was, but I can come close. All right. So, Kat, you asked me a question.
I'm sure everybody has asked you every other question under the sun.
I don't know if that's true, Kat. Let's see.
Well, I'm going to ask you a question. I feel like when I started in this thing that music picked me. What age was little Paul Reed Smith when music picked him? And what song was it? My brother took me to a store and he shows me a record. There were no CDs, it was a record of a cover with a black guy with two eyes on his shirt and a big fro, and two white guys with fros just like him on the cover. Three people, two white, one black. He said, these guys are going to be huge. They're huge in England. They're going to be huge. I didn't know what I was looking at. All I knew was this guy had eyes on his shirt. So the record comes home. It's got cellophane on it. My brother goes out. I took the cellophane off, which is not supposed to do because of my brother's record, and I put it on the record player. Whonk with a needle. When I got to the last tune on the second side, I was done. When Are You Experienced happened, I was cooked. It was over. I was done. I'd never heard anything like it in my life. I was cooked. I just never had an experience like that. I was like, are you kidding me? I never heard sounds like that. I never heard anything like that. I didn't even want to listen to, and our experience. Are you experienced? I am. You aren't. You're dumb. I'm good. Oh my God. But how old were you?
Sorry. Huh?
How old were you? How old were you when you owned the music?
When I what?
When you owned it for yourself.
Well, I think I owned it from that second on. How could you not fall in love with it? And you got to play with the king, which must have been a learning experience of all time.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. Hypothetical. PRS post-COVID jam. What cities and who would you call?
My band plus Dennis Chambers plus Juju House at Tipitina's for a week.
New Orleans.
Tipitina's.
Hey, baby. There you go.
That's a pipe dream I'm going to try to make come true.
Would there be more than one city?
Yeah, but I want to start at Tipitina's.
You would start there.
Are you kidding? Those people.
Any other special places in the country?
Yeah, we'd go to the Bottom Line. That'd be cool. A lot of places in New York. A lot of places.
And who would you call in New York to join you?
I gave you the people.
Oh, so no different people for each city?
I take all my peeps here. I live in the land of the drummers. I live with Dennis Chambers, Greg Granger, Juju House, JJ, Blues Web.
So when
Sorry,
you so when you got to New York, you
Granger.
wouldn't
I'm
call.
sorry. Gary can't play bass. He sucks. I mean, come on.
When you got to New York, you wouldn't call
And Mia's
special
singing better
brothers
and
who
better
lived
and better.
there.
What? What?
When you got to New York, you wouldn't call any special friends who lived there to come join you.
Wasn't part of my pipe dream, but if you want to come show up after you, come on, Kat. I mean, Dennis is a force to be reckoned with. Greg has got some of the best meter on the planet.
Yes.
And Juju play with Chuck. Have you ever heard play with Juju House? Oh, it's not of this world, woman.
Oh, I can only imagine.
Oh, I love it. So yeah, you asked me my pipe dream. We could take the DC Baltimore quarter and take them to New Orleans and go kill them. A good band is like a motorcycle gang that walks in and takes your head off, right?
It can be.
It can be, yeah.
It
And don't
can.
think Prince didn't think of it that way. He wanted to walk in and win.
Well, whenever we'd go to a club, he'd just kind of go in and say, "Can I hold that for a minute?" And and everybody would just fall in, and we would just end up sitting in and taking over the house.
Yeah, take over the house. But he earned that position, right? I'm not there yet.
I love you.
I know I got that part, woman. Love you, love you. See you. Bye bye.
Love you.
All right, bye bye.